So you've recently been through a divorce or a breakup, and you're wondering if no contact is the right move for you. What I'm going to give you today is all of the information that you need to decide if this is what you should do, as well as some ideas in how to implement it. So I'm going to begin by giving you 6 signs that no contact is needed. The first of those is if there is a history of manipulation or abuse in the relationship, it is critical that you gain some distance in order for you to learn how to listen to yourself again. At its core, abuse is all about control and manipulation. And so, what happens is anytime that you are within their sphere of influence, everything gets muddled, everything gets confused, and you're not able to listen to your own voice. And so, at this point, it is absolutely imperative that you have some distance, maybe not forever, but at least for a time, so that you learn how to trust yourself again. No contact may also be warranted when the relationship has a pattern of cycling. When it's good, it's great, and when it's off, it is terrible. And what happens is we get sort of addicted to that cycle, that on again, off again. And so, in order to really figure out what it is that you want, you need to step away and get off that ride. And with this type of relationship, even what seems like an innocent text can quickly turn into another cycle. And so, in order for you to figure out what you really want, you need to step off that ride. Another sign is if you find yourself obsessing over your ex. If you find yourself unable or powerless to control your thoughts or even behaviors when you're around them, it's a sign that you need to remove them from your life. Think of it kind of like not having ice cream in the house when you're trying to lose weight. Now, one of the more common ways that this obsession shows up is through social media. Do you find yourself obsessively looking at their posts? It's impossible for you to put energy into your future if you're spending this much of it on your past. Do you experience anxiety around contact with your ex? Is your stomach in knots every time you think about sending them a text? Or does your heart plummet every time their name flashes across your phone? If they are still able to trigger this much emotion in you, it's a sign that you need to disconnect, at least for a time. Another sign is if you feel regret after you have contact. Maybe you reach out to them in a low point or when you're just wondering how they're doing. So you're feeling curious, but then after that contact, then you wonder, why did I do that? I wish I had never done that. Maybe you're hoping that they've changed and then their harsh or dismissive words wound you all over again. Or perhaps you told yourself that you were looking for closure and instead you just end up in that same argument yet again. How you feel afterwards is quite telling. And if it's something that you wish you hadn't done, then maybe it's something that you shouldn't be doing. And then finally, is your ex taking up too much of your mental space? Maybe they are physically removed from your life, but they're still living rent-free in your head. Sometimes we need to go no contact to complete the eviction. Now, before you decide to go no contact, it's important to understand what no contact is and what it isn't. No contact is not ghosting. Ghosting would be a sudden disappearance without any communication, and that is simply cruel to do to anybody. Ghosting is ending the relationship without having the difficult conversations and without giving them a chance to respond. In contrast, no contact is an act of self-care. It's setting and maintaining your boundaries. It occurs after the relationship has ended and after the difficult conversations have been had. It says, for my own well-being, I can no longer have you in my life. No contact is not a statement that you never loved them. It is possible for us to love a person and at the same time recognize and accept that they are not good for us. The decision to remove someone from your life does not discount those feelings that did exist or maybe still exist. It is simply an act of self-preservation. Consider if you suddenly developed an allergy to your favorite food. You obviously would have to remove it from your diet, but that wouldn't mean that it didn't once bring you great pleasure. And then finally, no contact is not removing the memories. You can remove the person from your life, and yet you can still treasure some of those memories that you shared with them. No contact is recognizing and asking for what you need. No contact is making a decision to change. No contact is acceptance and respect. It's accepting that the relationship is over and giving it the respect to let it go. So what are the benefits of no contact? Well, it helps you establish and maintain your personal power. When we're in relationships, often that line between me and we can become blurred. And when you go no contact, it gives you the space to figure out who you are again, separate from this person. It is so easy for us to see ourselves the way that others see us. And as long as there is contact, those words will continue to echo in our thoughts. And sometimes the only way to handle a haunting is with an exorcism. No contact encourages healthy boundaries. For so many of us, we set those boundaries, but then when they're tested, we allow them in just a little bit more. And this is especially true for people that tend to put others' needs above their own. And in this case, no contact is a gift to yourself. It gives you permission to no longer worry about your ex's well-being. This is your time to learn how to put your oxygen mask on first. When you have contact with your ex, it's easy to focus on their ex. Are they happy? Are they miserable? Are they dating? Are they thinking about me? And this is especially true if your ex struggles with addiction or mental health. It's so easy to become completely consumed with their well-being. And so often an unhealthy ex will even encourage us to focus on them. So when you remove them from your life, it gives you the time and space and energy to focus on healing you. Distance also helps to provide some perspective and some clarity. When you're in a thing, you can't really see all sides of a thing. And that's so true when we have contact with a person. Even occasional contact can act kind of like a lens that blurs your focus. And it makes it so much harder to see the relationship with rational detachment. And if you really want to understand where things went wrong, well, you first have to be able to see it without excess emotion. And then finally, when your ex is still in your life, they are taking up space. And if you remove them, well, then you have that space to allow for something new. Okay, so you've decided that no contact is the right decision for you. So here are some strategies to help make it work. The first step is to make contact more difficult. Delete their number and their email from all of your devices. If you tend to reach out during a certain time, make an effort to be occupied or unavailable during that time. If evenings are your downfall, then go ahead and shut off your phone and leave it in your car for a while. Do whatever you need to do to make sure that any contact is done deliberately and not out of reflex or habit. Appoint an accountability buddy. Tell a trusted friend or a family member what your plans are. And ask them if, when you're tempted to reach out to your ex, if it's okay if you reach out to them instead. And while you're at it, it's also good to go ahead and let your friends and family know that you don't want to hear updates about your ex. Along the same lines, make sure to deal with your social media accounts. Start by blocking them. If that's not sufficient because you're still able to see some of their posts or responses, go ahead and shut down your account for a time. Your peace of mind is more important than whatever the most popular Instagram post is of the day. Use visual reminders. For months, I had a note on my computer that said, "Don't even think about it." It was a visual reminder right at the location of my greatest temptation. You may even want to consider changing your lock screen or your wallpaper to something that is a reminder for you. When you're feeling doubt, remind yourself why you made this decision. Go ahead and create a list, an actual written list of all of the reasons that no contact is what's best for you. And then when you're starting to waver, go back and look at that list and remind yourself again why you're doing this for you. Find something else to occupy your mind. If you're busy, you're not going to have time to think about them and to think about what you're missing. Now, for those of you that have children with your ex, obviously no contact isn't really going to be a choice. This is when boundaries are so vital and important. Recognize what type of communication works best. Maybe you decide that everything needs to be in writing because phone calls or in-person contact are both more emotional for you, and also they open up the opportunity for your ex to change history. Maybe you decide that text messages are too intrusive because they come in when you don't have a choice in the matter. And perhaps you decide that email is better. Maybe you even have all of their emails go into a specific folder that you only open when you feel prepared. And be very clear that the only communication will be about the kids. Refuse to engage in anything that they do that tries to elicit an emotional response. And if all else fails and your ex refuses to follow your guidelines, it might be worth looking into mediation. Sometimes they do better when they hear it from somebody else. So why is no contact so hard? It's as foreign and uncomfortable as losing an arm. Only in this case, it's your heart that has been removed. It can feel so wrong to know that they are out there and yet act as though they are dead to you. No contact is so difficult because we fear being forgotten. We want to know that we not only were important to this person, but that we still are important to this person. No contact is difficult, well, because contact becomes a habit. This is probably the first person that you picked up your phone to text when you saw something or had an interesting experience. Contact becomes a habit. You know, it's no wonder that we talk about love as a drug, because whenever you see their name flash across your screen or you see a social media post, even if it's one that's negative because you see them with someone else, your brain rewards you with this little shot of dopamine. And that's even stronger if these signs from them are intermittent. And so at some point, this contact becomes less of an intention and more of an addiction. And it's hard to stop cold turkey. No contact can be difficult because, well, absence makes the heart grow fonder, or at least makes the brain grow more forgetful. And so we can easily focus on all of the positive things in the relationship when we start to question ourselves, was it really so bad? Did I make a mistake? Sometimes we struggle with no contact because we're listening to our personal narrative. Maybe we always told ourselves that this person was the one, or we said that we would never, ever get a divorce, or maybe we've been excusing their bad behavior for years. And whenever there's a disconnect between our beliefs, which in this case is that they were the one, and our actions, like cutting them out of your life, well, there's inevitable discomfort. You may be feeling residual guilt or regret. Maybe you feel guilty for ending the relationship, or you feel guilty for cutting them out of your life. Maybe you regret that things have happened this way, or you regret something that you said. And all of those emotions can be so powerful to keep us going back. And then finally, that drive to fill that void is so powerful. When we lose somebody from our life, there's this gap where they once were. And we feel that it's an ache, a longing. And it's so easy and natural for us to want that same person to fill that void for us again. Okay, and then finally, here are some of the reasons that you may be struggling to stay away. One of these is that you wish that you could be friends. And I get it. I still feel a little twinge of envy when I hear about people that are friends with their ex. I wish that I could have that, but I don't. And for some of us, friendship just isn't in the cards. Yet you can also be open to the possibility that perhaps no contact now is what's needed for each of you to grow and develop and heal independently, for maybe a friendship to develop at some point in the future. Maybe you're struggling to stay away because you're looking for closure. Maybe you're looking for that one final explanation or an apology. You want that one last conversation. It feels unfinished somehow, like a door that's not completely sealed against the cold. But here's the truth. Closure can never come from another person. No matter how honest and vulnerable they are willing to be, they are never going to give you those words that you want to take your pain away. Sometimes we struggle because we are focusing only on the good. After all, there had to be some good times there, I'm assuming, right? That's why you were attracted to them in the first place. And yet now it might be helpful to think about some of the bad. After all, they are your ex for a reason. Remember. So often we struggle because we're making excuses. I just had to send them this one last text, or, oh, I just needed to look up on Instagram what they were doing because it's their birthday and I wanted to check on them. Or I didn't initiate that contact. I was just responding to them. After all, it's rude not to respond. We are so good at coming up with reasons to justify doing what we want to do. But as long as you are making excuses, you're going to keep struggling. So often we're struggling because we're experiencing loneliness. The loneliness and isolation after a breakup can be utterly devastating. And it's so tempting to reach out to that person that is known, that is comfortable. But you want to be with somebody because you want to be with them, not just because you don't want to be alone. And then finally, you might be struggling because you're wanting things to be different. I get it. I wish things could be different too. I wish that we could all find our person and live happily ever after. But that's not how things often work. No contact is not based in wishful thinking. No contact is built upon reality. It says, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I have right now. And this is what I need to do for myself so that I can heal and so that I can be the best person possible for those that I do choose to have in my life.